Hello, people. Oh, I'm not plugged in. Hold on. I would almost start over, but since I'm live, I'll just run with it. I let my daughter use my studio for a Zoom meeting, and she doesn't know my rule. You don't touch anything. Hi, Sherry. How are you? It's lovely to see you, my dear. And now, of course, Coco's scratching. Come on, baby. Don't. Watch out, Coco. Watch out. Watch out. I gotta get through, hon. I gotta get through. You can go over there. Okay. How are you, Sherry? I'm gonna try to just get right into this because this is the 131 page document. Oh, you're so sweet. And if you can tell me if my sound is good, I'll just go ahead because this is going to take hours and hours and hours. This is part one of probably 3 or 4, perhaps 3-hour videos because I'm going to just read the whole thing. Okay, this is where it starts. Combined courts. Oh, I didn't do my thumb. Hit the like button, please. And you know the whole thing about everything I say, simply my opinion, even when I'm reading this document, because let's say, oh, thanks, Sherry. Let's say that I read it wrong or that I insert my opinion. I'm going to try not to do either, but I'm sure it'll happen. So I'm just going to try to steamroll through it and make sure you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, if you're not, please consider doing so. Share this video with somebody that you think is following this case and doesn't want to read the 131 pages on their own. There's no shame in that, you know, because you can listen to it while you're gardening or doing housework or working out. Turn on your notification bell to ring, or while you're sleeping. Let's see. Combined Courts, Chaffee County, Colorado. And this is the original affidavit from 2021. And I don't know if they reused this. I tried to do some research on it. My guess is that they reused this and probably had an addendum. So we've got the court address, 142 Crestone Avenue, Salida, Colorado. Plaintiff, the people of the state of Colorado. Defendant Barry Lee Morphew. It's got the case number, attorney for the plaintiff, Linda Stanley, district attorney, 11th Judicial District. Address is 104 Crestone Avenue, Salida, Colorado, 81201. Phone number, 719-539-3563. Fax number, attorney registration, warrant for arrest of defendant upon affidavit. Name, Barry Lee Morphew. Date of birth, and I'll try to make eye contact and smile, you know. Date of birth, 10/17/67. He was born the same year as me, about a month after me, 5 weeks after me. Physical description, 5'10", 190 pounds, blue eyes, blonde hair, social security number redacted, and address is 1026 Poncho Springs Lane, Poncha Springs, not Poncho, sorry, Colorado, 81242. Agency, Chaffee County Sheriff's Office. 2, any person authorized by law to execute warrants within the state of Colorado. You're hereby commanded to arrest Barry Lee Morphew and take him without unnecessary delay before the nearest judge of a court of record to be advised of the criminal charges that have been filed or may be filed, to wit. Charge: murder in the first degree, class 1 felony. Tampering with evidence, a class 6 felony. Attempt to influence a public servant, a class 4 felony. Bail fixed by the court in the amount of no bond pursuant to CRS code, and this is by the court judge, Patrick Murphy, and state of Colorado, county of Chaffee, and it's moving right on to the affidavit for the arrest warrant. Maybe I won't read all this stuff at the top. Let me see. It's some of the repeat of what I just read. Yeah, I won't read any of that. It's all repeat. Affidavit for arrest warrant. The undersigned, being duly sworn, deposes and swears that this affidavit is made in support of an application for an arrest warrant for Barry Lee Morphew, age 53, date of birth 10/17/67. Your affidavit is investigating the disappearance and murder of Suzanne Renee Morphew, age 49, date of birth April 30th, 1971, who was reported missing on May 10th, 2020 from their residence 19057 Puma Path, unincorporated Chaffee County, Salida, Colorado. So it was her birthday about 10 or 11 days before she vanished. Based upon the interviews, information, and evidence collected to date, Suzanne's husband, Barry, violated Colorado revised statutes by committing murder in the first degree, tampering with physical evidence, and attempt to influence a public servant, and took affirmative steps to conceal the murder in the months following. Your affidavit informs this court that he is the chief investigator for the 11th Judicial District Attorney's Office and has been employed with this office since January 2007 and has investigated missing persons and homicide matters. Your affidavit has been assigned to assist in the investigation of the case described herein below. Your affidavit has knowledge of the investigation from Chaffee, if I'm saying it right, Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, agents with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI, special agents with Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and my personal investigation. Your affidavit further states that from the investigation to date, all incidents described herein occurred in the county of Chaffee and within the state of Colorado. Suzanne took clear, articulable steps in January 2020 in attempts to separate from and divorce her husband, Barry. She told her family and close friends about her intentions, secretly recorded her notes of abuse in her phone because Barry monitored it, confronted Barry in arguments that she secretly recorded with the help from a friend, and finally sent him a text 4 days before she disappeared saying that she was done. Let's handle this civilly. Barry, however, initially represented to the investigators from CBI, FBI, and CCSO that his marriage with Suzanne was perfect, and she had no intention of leaving him. Barry's statements about his actions on the days before and after Suzanne's disappearance have been proven to be false and misleading by this investigation. Barry knowingly destroyed evidence that his relationship with Suzanne was deteriorating and that he was involved in her disappearance and homicide. Suzanne's bicycle and helmet, recovered close to the Morphew residence, discarded before Barry left town in the early morning hours of May 10th, 2020. The investigation to date indicates that these items were not indicative of an accident, an animal attack, Suzanne being a runaway, Suzanne committing suicide, or Suzanne being the victim of a stranger abduction. All records checks available to the FBI and local law enforcement indicate as of April 30th, 2021, that Suzanne has not used a credit card, nor her social security number, nor has she been contacted by law enforcement, not flown an airplane, not crossed a national border, not established utilities or housing, nor otherwise continued in her normal pattern of life for over 355 days. Based upon legal supposition, Suzanne Morphew, based on this lack of proof of life, is deceased. Within a month or so of Barry moving Suzanne and their daughter from Indiana to Colorado in April 2018. Actually, I take that back. It might be just one daughter because the other daughter might have already been in college. Okay. April 2018, Suzanne sent a Facebook message of "Howdy Stranger" to her high school friend, Jeff Liebler. Suzanne and Liebler, who resides in Michigan, began communicating regularly through 2018 and eventually began meeting each other in 2019. Suzanne traveled to meet him in New Orleans, Indianapolis, Dallas, Michigan, and Florida, where they eventually had consensual sex. By September 2019, Barry took clear steps to determine if Suzanne was having an affair by stalking her at their own residence in Salida, Colorado, as witnessed by Suzanne's closest friend, Sheila Oliver. In January 2019, Barry took Suzanne's phone from her when they were in a resort in Mexico while she was talking to Liebler, but he was unable to determine Liebler's identity. On May 8th, 2020, Suzanne saved in the notes section of her phone that Barry accused her of having a boyfriend on May 6th, 2020. On May 9th, 2020, Suzanne's last proof of life occurred in the 2 p.m. hour when she was messaging Liebler with a selfie while Barry returned to the residence. Suzanne did not respond to Liebler's return message at 2:44 p.m. and 2:46 p.m., the same time Barry admitted to running around their property with a gun and placing his phone in airplane mode at 2:47 p.m. The computer activity telematics from Barry's Ford F-350 and the activity of his cell phone and statements he made to law enforcement in multiple interviews confirm that from 2:47 p.m. on May 9th, 2020 until 5:37 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, he took steps to dispose of evidence of Suzanne's disappearance, and death, create a false alibi for himself, and stage a crime scene. In recent months, following the presentation of evidence by FBI agents to Barry, he has changed critical details about his activities in the 2 p.m. hour on May 9th in attempts to match the evidence. Since January 2021, Barry has admitted to chasing a chipmunk with a gun around the house while Suzanne was outside sunbathing, shooting a deer with a tranquilizer dart to explain a dart or needle cap in the dryer, disposing of the tranquilizer solution during his trip to Broomfield, following a bull elk down Highway 50 in the 4 a.m. hour on May 10th to explain why his truck would be headed west where the helmet was discarded, and finally stating to the FBI on April 22nd, 2021, that he looks guilty from the evidence and God allowed these things to happen. And if you want to share the video while we're live, if you think people will be interested in hearing all this stuff, because this is probably going to be a case that we'll all be talking about until trial and through the trial and after the trial, if it goes to trial, which it probably will. Barry's involvement, in my opinion, and Barry's involvement in Suzanne's disappearance and death can be organized into the initial scene and interviews, Section 1, Suzanne's affair and her attempts to leave him, Section 2, Barry's early statements to CBI from May through June 2020, Section 3. The evidence recovered by law enforcement, Section 4. Witness statement, Section 5. And Barry's statement to the FBI in 2021, wherein he tangentially describes what happened to Suzanne when he is shown evidence in the case, Section 6. That's a great way to put it. He tangentially, sorry, I can't say the word, it's my best shot, describes what happened to Suzanne when he is shown the evidence in the case, Section 6. I think that's the summary that I read at the end of yesterday's live. And that live went over to the not live videos if you're looking for it. It's the black and white photo of Barry standing by the door with a weird look on his face and Suzanne standing behind him, looking very seductive and with bedhead. The following case synopsis was prepared for this affidavit by your affiant with the assistance of FBI Special Agent S.A. Jonathan Grushing. This affidavit was edited and reviewed by S.A. Kenneth Harris and CBI agents Joseph Cahill and Derek Graham. The affidavit includes footnotes that denotes critical deceptive statements and inconsistencies by Barry that are addressed later in the affidavit. Section 1, the initial scene. And this was not released until September of 2021. Initially, it was sealed. That's how I missed it. On May 10th, 2020, at approximately 5:58 p.m., Deputy Damon Brown was notified by dispatch to contact Scott Ritter, later correctly identified as Martin Ritter, by phone regarding a possible missing person who also has cancer, end quote. Dispatch further informed that the missing person was named Suzanne Morphew and that her husband Barry was driving back from Denver and, quote, did not have cell service, end quote, where in fact he was at his hotel in Broomfield with cell service. Martin Ritter reported to Deputy Brown that he was contacted earlier by telephone by Suzanne's daughter, redacted, was attending college at Western State University in Gunnison, Colorado, and did not reside at the Morphew residence. Redacted explained to Martin that she was concerned because she could not reach Suzanne via telephone or text. Redacted asked Martin to go to the residence and check on Suzanne. Martin's wife, Jean Ritter, proceeded to the residence but could not locate Suzanne. So Martin contacted Barry via telephone. Martin further stated that Barry told him that he also could not reach Suzanne either. Martin told Barry that he did not locate Suzanne at the residence, nor could he locate her after searching the immediate area. Barry instructed Martin to call 911 and advised Martin that he was on his way home from Denver. Martin estimated to Deputy Brown that Suzanne went missing between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. that same morning. Deputy Brown reporting. Deputy Brown attempted to contact Barry at 6:05 p.m. without success, then again at 7:10 p.m. when he spoke with Barry. Barry stated that the last time he saw his wife was at their residence at 5 a.m. that morning, May 10th, 2020, when he got up to leave for Denver for a landscaping job. Suzanne was still sleeping and Barry did not speak with her. Barry advised Deputy Brown that Suzanne had recently gained an interest in mountain biking and began mountain biking on a regular daily basis. Barry advised that when Suzanne would bike, she would wear a turquoise in color bicycle helmet and a windbreaker jacket. No other description given for the windbreaker jacket. He described that Suzanne also had an iPhone, which she would take with her when biking. Barry added that Suzanne was going through cancer treatments, and he provided Deputy Brown with her phone number, redacted, when Deputy Brown requested it. Deputy Brown and CCSO Sergeant Lamine Mullinax drove to the Morphew residence and turned onto County Road 225 from US Highway 50 at about 7:31 p.m. They drove slowly, looking along the steep incline along the shoulder of Colorado Route 225 for the bicycle. As Deputy Brown turned the corner, he saw a blue mountain bike down near the ravine close to the bottom of the hill, with the front tire pointed downward toward the creek. Sergeant Mullinax accompanied Deputy Brown to investigate the blue Santa Cruz mountain bike. They saw no indications of a crash. As Deputy Brown noticed, the vegetation around the bike was not flattened in the area where a human body would have landed. Let's see. That was in quotes. The vegetation around the bike was not flattened in the area where a human body would have landed, end quote. There was no blood around the bike, nor was there any apparent damage to the bike. Due to the steepness of the incline, the bike should have been damaged if an accident had occurred. When Deputy Brown moved the bike up the path, he noticed that the front brake pad was seized. That's important. And the handlebars were turned completely to the left, causing the brake cables to wrap around the bike frame. Deputy Brown and Sergeant Mullinax examined the dirt shoulder of Colorado Route 225 immediately above the area where the bike was recovered and, quote, did not observe any braking marks, skid marks from a bicycle, end quote. Let's see, a footnote here says, in a separate interview, Martin Ritter told the FBI that Barry said he was, quote, at a work site with workers present, end quote, when he received the final call from Martin. Barry also told CBI agents multiple times that he was at the Via Vara worksite in Broomfield, Colorado, when he received the call and had to drive to his hotel to drop his tools off for workers. The Broomfield Hotel video, however, disproved those assertions. See Section 4. There's a photograph of the bike on the hillside. I'll see if you might be able to see it, but let's see. The bike is right there. Deputy Brown examined the front rim of the bike tire, and he observed no damage to the rim or spokes, which he expected to see if the brake had locked and the weight from a rider who would have been going headfirst over the edge. Deputy Brown wrote, after all these observations, I started to question if something criminal had occurred, as it looked like the bike was purposely thrown in this location. Meanwhile, redacted boyfriend, redacted age, redacted his father, Michael Harvey, and his sister, redacted, arrived at the residence. This is Macy's boyfriend, the 16-year-old's boyfriend, arrived at the residence and assisted with searching the immediate area, finding no signs of forced entry at the entry door or any other points of entry into the residence. And I believe Macy had been living with the family for a couple of months or so, give or take. Deputy Brown walked through, and that was because of the COVID and the mom's cancer. Deputy Brown walked through the Morphew residence with blank present. Deputy Brown observed that the residence was well kept and orderly, with the exception of one guest bedroom, later identified as Blank's bedroom. In Redacted's bedroom, the bed was stripped of the bedding. Deputy Brown observed in the master bedroom what appeared to be one .22 caliber round of ammunition unfired on the floor next to the bed. He then looked under the bed to inquire where the said ammunition may have come from and observed what appeared to be a rifle storage case. In the main floor foyer area of a storage closet, Deputy Brown observed what appeared to be a reddish-brown substance that was smeared midway on the side of the closet wall. In the kitchen area, Deputy Brown observed a laptop computer and documents scattered near the laptop computer. In the three-car garage area, Deputy Brown discovered two white SUV vehicles, later identified as Suzanne's personal vehicle and Blank's personal vehicle. At the time of Suzanne's disappearance redacted and redacted were on a road trip traveling out of Colorado in redacted vehicle. Therefore, redacted vehicle was parked in the garage. He also observed that there were home surveillance cameras mounted on the exterior of the residence, also important, muy importante. Deputy Brown described that the placement of the mounted exterior cameras are ideal for viewing any persons or activity coming onto or leaving the Morphew property. And a footnote, this reddish-brown stain was processed by CBI laboratory and determined not to be blood. At 9:37 p.m., CCSO Commander Avila brought Barry into the house and advised Deputy Brown that they were looking for a piece of clothing from the residence for the search dogs to locate Suzanne. Barry walked to the master bedroom and pointed to the clothing on the floor in the closet. Deputy Brown observed mountain bike gloves and padded shorts in the pile. Commander Avila took a pair of the shorts. Deputy Brown was walking in the driveway when Deputy DeFurio told him that there were barefoot marks inside of the bucket of the Bobcat. That is just stunning to me. Deputy Brown went with him to examine and found that the cutting blade on the bucket of the Bobcat appeared to be newly replaced, along with the nuts and bolts. Sergeant Molinax reporting. Sergeant Molinax documented that he was present when Deputy Brown was speaking to Barry at approximately 7:10 p.m. over the phone. Barry said that Suzanne rides her bike regularly and usually leaves between 8 and 9 a.m. Upon inspecting the bike with Deputy Brown, Sergeant Molinax activated his body camera, as did Deputy Brown. And see, this is important, the 8 to 9 a.m., because apparently it'll say this later, I think, that Suzanne normally, her routine was to take her bike rides in the afternoon. Activated his body camera, as did Deputy Brown. Sergeant Molinax noted that the bike appeared out of place, end quote. Sergeant Molinax and Deputy Brown walked down to the ravine as they called out for Suzanne. They walked a few hundred yards along the ravine without finding anything of interest. Sergeant Molinax asked Deputy Brown to go to the Morphew residence while he stayed with the bike, which Deputy Brown moved up the road. Deputy Brown contacted dispatch as they had no cell service and asked for the local hospital to be checked for Suzanne. Dispatch informed Deputy Brown that Suzanne had not been to the hospital. Sergeant Molinax asked dispatch to ping the number given for Suzanne's cell phone. Dispatch informed Sergeant Molinax that the cell phone appeared to be off and last known activity was at 4:23 a.m. on the present date, with a general location about 11.5 miles west of a cell phone tower in Poncha Springs, Colorado. While Sergeant Molinax was by the bike, Redacted approached and identified himself as the boyfriend of Suzanne's daughter, Redacted, confirmed that the bike belonged to Suzanne. As Sergeant Molinax examined the bike, he found no scratches or damage to it. So these two, the daughter and the boyfriend that were 16 at the time, would be 21 now. And I forget the boyfriend's name, but I'll just start inserting Macy if I think that that's the daughter that they're referring to. I believe Macy is the one who would be 21 now, and Mallory is the one who'd be in her mid-20s at this point. But since they were minors at this point in time, they redacted. Since they're not minors anymore, I won't worry about that. I think I already read this sentence. As Sergeant Molinax examined the bike, he found no scratches or damage to it. At about 8:42 p.m., Barry arrived on scene in his truck by himself, walked up and touched the bicycle and identified the bike as Suzanne's. Sergeant, this is a very tricky name, Julius. It's HYSJULIEN reporting. Sergeant Julian. Let's try Julian. Sergeant Claudette Julian contacted Redacted on scene that same date, and he reported that Redacted told him that Suzanne and Barry argue frequently. Redacted added that he was the one who introduced Suzanne to mountain biking about a month ago. He described her mountain biking skills as intermediate levels. When Redacted was asked if he noticed anything out of order in the residence, he described that the bedding from Redacted's bed was stripped off the bed. Redacted thought that was strange because Redacted does not live at home. Redacted also thought that it was unusual for Suzanne's bike to not have any damage if she had possibly crashed on her mountain bike. Sergeant Julian next contacted Redacted, who stated that she had last talked to Suzanne on the night of May 9th, 2020. She had last seen Suzanne at the end of April 2020. Redacted advised that she, and I'll read the footnotes before I get into the next page. Footnote refer to the portion of Suzanne's Instagram posts and her pattern of life statements from Melinda Balmonk, her sister, and interviews with Barry. Suzanne routinely rode in the afternoon. Another footnote, there are no electronic records of Suzanne communicating by any means with anyone after 14:11 on May 9th, 2020. So 2:11, May 9th. When she sends her last message by LinkedIn to Jeff Libler. Phone records show that the last communication from, and then this is continuing, advised that she had sent a text message to Suzanne wishing her a happy birthday. Hey, Annabees, what's up? Let me see if I can highlight. I am reading, I don't know if it's going to let me. I'm reading the entire, I'm going to try to read the entire lawsuit, or there we go. The entire affidavit, because I guess this arrest affidavit is the only one that is public right now. It had been sealed until September of 2021. So for like 4 months, basically, it was sealed. And then when it was unsealed, that's why I missed it. And probably most people missed it. And it's really good. It's so good that my guess is that they reused it in the arrest from last Friday, was it? and that they just made an addendum to it, but I'm not sure. There could be a whole brand new arrest affidavit. Maybe they rewrote it. Maybe they just like edited it. But I would think that they would have used it with an addendum. We'll see. Anyway, it's extremely relevant because there's just so much hard evidence in it. Where was I? And how are you today? I hope you are doing well. I'm sure you are enjoying your grand jazz. I'm glad you are going over this case. I never followed it before. And, I wasn't sure about reading this because it's so long, but then I thought it's just like a public service because I know a lot of us aren't going to sit down and read 131 pages. So I thought I would try to do it for everyone so that I would be better versed in the information too. Because reading it out loud is very different than reading it quietly to yourself, silently. And I had done that the night before last, and I was just on the edge of my seat. I literally couldn't put it down. And I was like trying to speed read through it because I had to go to the bathroom and I was unable to put it down. It was that riveting. Okay, so where was I? I'll just start at the top here. Had sent a text message to Suzanne wishing her happy Mother's Day on May 10th, 2020, but Suzanne had not replied. She also tried calling Suzanne, but the call went directly to voicemail. At that time, she received a call from Barry asking if she contacted Suzanne. Redacted advised him that she attempted to, but was not able to reach her. Barry asked Redacted to let him know. What a effing gaslighter. Yes, it's a great idea. Yeah, I realized that after I floated that idea in the live yesterday. I thought, it's a big assignment, but I'm going to give it a shot. Barry asked Redacted to let him know if she was later able to reach Suzanne. Redacted stated that Suzanne mountain bikes regularly during the afternoon hours, often using a wide trail across the highway. Suzanne normally took her cell phone, sunglasses, and blue backpack hydration bladder on the bike rides. When Redacted was asked if there were any concerns with her parents' relationship, she denied any concerns or issues. When asked if there was any reason why Suzanne may leave the area, she denied that Suzanne would ever leave for an extended amount of time. She also denied any recent incidents or concerns between Suzanne and anyone else. And you got to remember, this is in the height of the COVID stay-at-home orders. Colorado, I think, had some of the most restricted stay-at-home orders. So it's really weird that the girls were even camping. Let's see. She also denied any recent incidents or concerns between Suzanne and anyone else. Sergeant Julian spoke with Redacted, and Redacted reported that she last had seen Suzanne on Tuesday when she and Redacted left on the road trip. She reported last exchanging text messages with Suzanne on May 9th, 2020, stated that Suzanne works out at the gym regularly and that she recently has taken up mountain biking daily. Redacted added that Barry has mountain biked with Suzanne a couple of times. Redacted denied any marital issues between her parents and described their marriage as very loving. I'm going to guess that's probably Mallory. I think Macy admitted to it, but Mallory denied it. Mallory had a very, in my opinion, inappropriate alliance with her father, like creepy inappropriate. I'm sorry to say, but that's just what it appears, what it appeared at the time. Hopefully she's figured some things out. Let's see. May 11th interviews. Sergeant Julian spoke with Redacted on May 11th, 2020, and Redacted confirmed that Suzanne wrote religious devotionals in a journal. When asked to describe her Redacted bedding at the Morphew house, Redacted said her bed is always made. Her sheets and pillowcases are light blue in color, and that her comforter is brown and reddish. Sergeant His Julian spoke with Redacted on May 11th, 2020, and Redacted admitted that her parents argued a lot and that she feared they would separate or divorce. She said that they were not doing well. And let me also say that the older one, Mallory, was away at college, so maybe that was her opinion, was that things were fine. She hadn't been there to see the recent fighting. Let's see. She said that they were not doing well and that it was for the best that they would separate. Redacted reported that they, Barry and Suzanne, were both in an unsafe place emotionally. Redacted stated quote, Redacted and my dad are different people, and they, Suzanne and Barry, argue, and I mean, they get in fights, and I don't know, they both have just not felt safe at some point, end quote. Redacted added that Suzanne and Barry weren't getting along and had discussed divorce. When Redacted was discussing if she had ever seen any text messages on her parents' phone, she advised that she does not ever look at the messages on their phones. When Redacted was asked if there was a possibility that her mom may have left home because she did not feel safe, Redacted said her mom would never leave her. Redacted later said if Suzanne would have left, she would have contacted her and her sister to let them know she was okay. Redacted explained that she and her sister, Redacted, were heading back on May 10th, 2020 with their friend, but there were no plans for Redacted to stay at the Morphew house for the trip. And here's a couple of footnotes. Suzanne told Redacted Suzanne Redacted was an iMessage text that Suzanne sent at 13:58 that said stunning in response to some photos Redacted had sent to Suzanne. In multiple interviews with the FBI in 2021, including one on 4/22/2021, so April 22nd, 2021, Barry denied that he and Suzanne discussed divorce. This statement by Redacted contradicts Barry's repeated assertions to CBI that he deleted arguments between him and Suzanne on his phone because his daughters always looked in his phone. Redacted said Suzanne always carried her cell phone with her and had a charging cable on her nightstand next to her bed. Sergeant His Julian spoke with Jean Ritter, who confirmed that Redacted contacted her and Martin Ritter via telephone on May 10th, 2020, at approximately 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. because she could not reach Suzanne. Redacted asked them to go to the house and check on Suzanne, and Jean went to the house. She did not locate Suzanne at the house, so she called Barry and told him what happened. Barry asked Jean to look for Suzanne's bicycle and call 911 if she didn't locate Suzanne. Jean returned to the house a second time, but once again, she did not locate the bicycle or Suzanne. After Jean returned home the second time, Martin called 911 to report that Suzanne was missing. Martin sent Jean, and it might be Jeannie. It's Jeanne. I think it's Jean. Martin sent Jean or Jean Ann. Let's just go with Jean. Martin sent Jean back to the Morphew house once more to leave a few notes posted for Suzanne in case Suzanne returned. Barry interview May 11th. In the early morning hours of May 11th, 2020, CCSO Detective Burgess and your affiant interviewed Barry Morphew. Barry explained that he left his residence at approximately 5 a.m. on May 10th, 2020 to travel to Broomfield, Colorado for a construction job. He did not speak to his wife, Suzanne, that morning because she was still asleep when he left. Barry stated that his daughters were to return to their home on May 10th from a camping trip. Barry said that he texted his wife to wish her a happy Mother's Day and did not get a response, possibly due to poor cell service at their residence. Barry said that he tried to text her again later that morning with no response. Barry reached his daughters via text message, and they also stated they could not reach their mother. Shoot, am I the only one who's got a frozen jazz? Thank you for letting me know. Is it still frozen, Annabees? If so, I can restart the stream and just pick up right where I'm leaving off. Still frozen? Let me see. Is it even going to let me chat? I wouldn't think they'd be so upset about me reading this. Maybe it's just a glitch. Maybe it's just a glitch. It doesn't look frozen from my end, but I'll give you a second to respond to my thing, and I'll check my hair, check my teeth, all that good stuff. If I don't get a response, maybe I should just start over because I don't want to read this thing forever and ever. I've already been reading for 45 minutes, and it's going to be multiple videos. Let's see what page I'm on. I'm on page 9. I think I'm at the top of page 9 of 131. So if we say about an hour for every 10 pages, then it would be 13 hours, which if I divided it into like 4 3-hour videos, that might be one way to do it. I think I'll just read for basically as long as I can in each one. And I'm thinking I should start over. Let me ask the chat. Oh, thank you, Annabees, for the response. And I wonder if it's your system or mine, because mine, it's still like it looks like the sound thing is working. I think so. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start over.